as well. Chris will explain that.
You don't need
And,
we don't need your exact age before anybody leaves.
yeah, so that may happen, but it won't. No animals will be harmed in the asking of the question.
Gwenda has a very tiny person with her. That should bring the age range down a little bit.
Is she?
Yeah, look.
Oh,
Hello.
that's excellent. Yeah. Well, that person definitely needs to be involved in the survey.
Who's that?
Who is that, Gwenda? Are you able to tell us?
You're on mute, Gwenda. Oh.
This is Rosa, Lucy's little girl.
Ah,
Rosa.
hello, Rosa.
I take this up.
Rosa. She knows
There's
me.
who?
Hi,
Rosa. She's overawed.
Well, that's fairly natural, aren't we all?
Are there any cats or dogs available on the call this morning?
Yeah, Chester is here. Come on, Chester.
Chester. Gwenda, you've got it all going on there.
Yeah, I know.
Lolly's got a dog.
Oh, Lolly. Who's that, Lolly?
This is Theo. He's in desperate need of a groom, so don't judge him.
Very nice. Right, Gwenda, I'm just going to mute you again.
Yep.
But we'll meet Chester in due course, no doubt. Right, just wait for one more person to come, or a few more people to come through the door, and then we'll make a start on the call this morning.
Stefan had something fluffy there. Have you put it away, Stefan?
All our misses.
Sorry.
Stefan looks quite shocked by that statement, stroke question.
You see? Is that a microphone? Or
That's dead or alive? Hi, Rachel.
It's a dead wombat, apparently.
Okay. Hi, Phil. Right, we'll make a start. Really nice to see you all. Thanks for coming along this morning to share an hour with us all. This is the Cumbria Arts and Culture Network Friday Zoom. It takes place every morning at 9:30 to 10:30. And we talk about stuff and champion stuff and find out about interesting people doing interesting things across the county and beyond sometimes as well. This morning is a busy call. We are going to hear from Karen McNeil, who helps run Borderlines, which is come back after a little hiatus, the book festival for Carlisle. We're going to hear from Will Smith, who is the co-owner of Sam Reed Booksellers in Grasmere, who managed to get Rory Stewart and James Rebanks into a room with about 800 other people in Kendal a couple of weeks ago. We'll find out how he did that and how that was. Two titans of the literary world in Cumbria. We're going to hear from Anne Waggett-Knott, who is the creative consultant working with Cumberland Council for a new project in Cleator Moor, and is going to introduce us to an artist call out for some material going on there. And then we're going to hear from Stuart Armstrong and Iona St. Joseph. What a magnificent surname you have, Iona.
Thank you.
St. Joseph. I don't know anybody else who's got a surname St. something. It's impressive.
I didn't pick it. It was assigned to me.
You didn't pick it, okay.
Yeah.
So Stuart and Iona have joined Cumbria Arts and Culture Network, working in a freelance capacity, as we all do. This is their sort of formal welcome and a hello to you all. And they'll explain a bit about who they are and what they're going to do for CACN as well. Iona is a very impressive printmaker, and Stuart is a very impressive filmmaker. And we're actually going to see a short trailer for a 15-minute film that Stuart has made, which you can watch on Channel 4 right now on Channel 4 Watch Again. It's a fantastic 15-minute film, as is Iona's printing. So we'll have a look at that too. That is the plan for this morning. This morning at 8:30, I was chatting to a really interesting woman called Ellie Barden, who is a sculptress based at Broome Hall, who is building the new massive sculptures that are going to be unveiled on the new Carlisle bypass route in December. So fingers crossed, I'm going to go and have a chat with her in a couple of weeks' time and make a little podcast and maybe do a bit of filming with her as well. Really interesting woman. Just thought I'd share that as well. And at the weekend I was at Cumbria Fest at Theatre by the Lake, which was a great celebration of new Cumbrian writing, drama, some stand-up, all sorts of great use of the space at Theatre by the Lake as well. I thought downstairs in the bar and other spaces of Theatre by the Lake too. So I enjoyed that. I'm sure you've all had a good cultural week too. Right. So without further ado, by the way, I just thought while we're talking books this morning, so we've got Karen and Will talking about books. If you've read anything good recently, just drop it into chat. If you've read any good books recently, and want to write one sentence as to why it's a good book, drop it into chat, and maybe someone might be inspired to buy something, borrow something from a library, or get someone for Christmas a great book. So anything that you've thought of that you've read recently, just drop it into chat. Right, Karen, hello, nice to have you with us. You are related to another person in the cultural world in Cumbria who sometimes plays the clarinet, aren't you?
Clarinetist Jack McNeil, yeah.
What is he to you? You're his mum.
I'm his mum, yeah.
So this is Jack McNeil's mum. I thought that was the case. But you also have many other strings to your bow, as well as being Jack McNeil's mum. And you are part of Borderlines. So tell us a bit about Borderlines, Karen, where it's been for a couple of years, and what's more importantly, what's going on this year. And for transparency reasons, I am hosting a couple of sessions at Borderlines this year. I'm hosting Alan Johnston, former Home Secretary, who's written a great book about Harold Wilson. And I'm also hosting the poetry open mic at Cakes and Ale as well. Anyway,
looking forward to seeing you, Tom. Thanks very much for having us. Please excuse if I'm a bit croaky because I've had a bit of a sort of croaky voice this morning, all of a sudden. Borderlines is back, as Tom says. We're a Borderlines Carlisle Book Festival. We're a community interest company since 2020. When Tom, yourself, were actually on the committee then. We began in 2014 as the brainchild of Gwenda, who's actually on the call today, and Helen Towers. And it's been a fantastic festival. We had, as you say, a brief hiatus in 2020. And also in 23 and 24, purely for logistic reasons, both times really. But we're back on a small scale this year, hoping to build back to what we were before. We run entirely by volunteers. There are 9 of us at the moment. Well, there were 4 last year, which might explain part of the reason why we haven't done much. One of them had a baby last year as well, which is, so we haven't been busy in the last couple of years because there's been lots of other things going on. Tully House, one of our main sort of venues, was undergoing a huge overhaul as well. So there are all kinds of small logistic reasons why we didn't, but we are back, and as I say, we're run by 9 volunteers. We all believe in community, arts, culture, joy of books, and we all do it in our own time because we love those things and we want to bring a book festival to Carlisle. So what Borderlines does is we deliver a book festival that brings major international, national and local talent to the festival. And so this year, for example, half of our authors are local to Cumbria. We also feature free events to encourage and inspire people's individual creativity. So this year we've got our open mic night, which we'll see Tom on Friday helping me to, he's hosting that and I'll be there to help. It'd be a fantastic evening. It's a lovely sign-up event. You just turn up and you do your poetry on the evening. It's actually, I'm here saying how great it is, but it's actually sold out, so which is fantastic for us. It's a free event, but you still have to buy a ticket. We also have a monthly free online book club, which was the brainchild of Tom Speight when he was on the committee a few years ago. We did it because it was COVID, and then we carried on doing it because people enjoyed it, and we had some people who were housebound or couldn't get out because they had young children, so it was great for them to have an online. It's first Wednesday of every month, and we do a different book every month. It's on the website. You can see where it says book club. If you scroll down there on that one, you can see all the books that we've read since we started. So it's a really nice, very informal, just like this, chat about books, and it's lovely. And so, and I also do that with Gwenda in the Cakes and Ale book club, on every month as well. So this year we developed through public and private partnerships. So Tully and Bookends were partners. Bookends, Gwenda and Lucy give us their invaluable advice and steer on programming and how to do all that stuff. They're fantastic, helpful, and they give us all that advice for free. And they're our festival bookshop, which is fantastic. Tully, because they've been in with us from the beginning, give us generous price on the venue hire and things. And also 3 of our committee are people who work at Tully, including Anna Smalley, our chair. So it's a really nice collaborative thing. We've also got Rachel Suddat, who you know, who's on the committee too. So for this year's festival, we're very excited because we started on Tuesday night with LJ Ross, multi-million selling crime writer. It was a complete sellout event, and on Monday next week, we've got our next event, which it's a bit of a crime featuring thing this year, because we've got Mike Craven and Abia Mukherjee in conversation with each other. And that event has got only about 19 tickets left now, I think. So if you did fancy coming along to that, you need to check in quick and get your tickets for that one. It'll be a lovely one. It's again at the old fire station. We use a big venue, the old fire station, for some of our events, if we know that we guarantee a large audience. And the others, the smaller lecture theatre at Tully House. So we've got, at the moment, as we stand, the Poetry Open Mic and the Alan Johnson and the KJ Whittle are sold out. But all of the other events that you scroll down here. So Eleanor Tweddle here, that's on your screen, that's going to be a fantastic event. She's a writer who used to work in industry, and she writes about change, because she was a self-made redundant from a high-flying job, and she writes about change being an opportunity rather than a thing that's negative, and enforce change and stuff like that. So I think that's a fantastic talk we're all looking forward to. Jenny as well, doing. One of the things we try to do is a lot of diversity. So we've got Eleanor talking about work and life and things like that, and we've got Jenny history, so that's a year with Gilbert White, one of Britain's first naturalists, and we've got Graham Robb there, the Discovery of Britain, which is a fantastic book. Graham's he's one of our authors who lives on the English-Scottish border. And his new book is the Discovery of Britain, and he's been with us before, and it's very Graham's serious literature book, but lots of humour in. So it'll be a really fascinating talk, I think, there. And also on the Saturday, the 14th, we've got Mike Berners-Lee, who is obviously the brother of his famous Berners-Lee, but Mike's books are all about climate change. I'm sure you're familiar with Mike's work, and we're really looking forward to having Mike join us again. He is, hang on a moment, please. He's written lots of books on the carbon footprint of everything. There is no planet B, The Burning Question, How Bad Are Bananas? But this one, Climate of Truth, published in March, and it's obviously really pertinent at the moment with the climate talks going on in Mexico. So that's going to be a fascinating talk. I can't sell you Alan Johnson because he's already sold out, but if we scroll down, we've got Dave Felton, 1,000 Years of Maps here, which is going to be that's going to be a great talk, because Dave's, he's talking on behalf of Bill Shannon, who wrote that book, who's actually quite poorly at the moment. But Dave, who runs Inspired by Lakeland, is the publisher of that book, and he's going to come along and do 1 hour presentation for us, and it's a beautiful book. And a lovely big book, and Dave's talk is fascinating, and it tells you all about the maps for 1,000 years. So I think it'll be a lovely choice. So as you can see, we've got quite a lot of variety. Jen Ashworth, she lives in Lancashire. She's Professor of Writing at Lancaster University. I'm sure you guys all know her anyway. And she's won Betty Trask Award and shortlisted for prizes, been on the Culture Show. She's a fantastic writer. She's come before and done workshops for us, as well as talked about her books. So it's a great opportunity to come and hear Jen. This is not a fiction book. It's a different book about her own pilgrimage, a chance to reconnect herself after an illness. So it sounds like a really fascinating talk. So as you can see, we've tried to put a bit of everything. We've got Alan Johnson, big hitting political guy, and then we've got finishing off with Tea and Cake with KJ Whittle, which will be a fantastic thing. That's actually a sold out event as well, but KJ Whittle, as you know, is also a local author, and she lives here in Cumbria too.
Okay.
So we're ever so excited about all of this, and we hope that people will be able to come along. Thanks so much for letting us talk about it.
And what are you reading at the moment, Karen? Anything on the go?
I've done a very deep dive into LJ Ross because I interviewed her on Tuesday. So I've read 9 of her books in the last few weeks, and I've just read Abia Mukherjee's Hunted, which is a political thriller, which is a fun. It's just won the Theakston's 2020 Theakston's Old Peculiar Crime Award 2025, I think. So that's a fantastic book. It's very different to his others, which are historical crime fiction, but this one is a very up-to-date set in the United States, and it's about bombings, and it's multifaceted, and it's a really interesting read, so I can thoroughly recommend that.
All right, lovely stuff. And just looking at everyone's recommendations in chat, what a range of things that we all read. Fantastic things. I'm not going to go through them all, but do, when you get a second, have a look at what everyone's reading or has read recently. There's some brilliant books there for you to enjoy. Right, thank you very much, Karen. Stay there because the book thing is happening big at the moment in Cumbria, and we've just had an event in Kendal at the Kendal Leisure Centre, which Will Smith oversaw, made happen, probably sent him a few sleepless nights as well. Will, you got together James Rebanks and Rory Stewart. I just thought it'd be interesting to just sort of see how you did it. It's, you know, a phenomenal amount of people came to it as well. Tell us a story of how that came about. We've got a few pictures to show as well while you talk. And then any questions from anybody at the end. So Will, over to you.
Well, we at the bookshop here, myself and my partner Polly, have been running the bookshop in Grasmere for 2 years now. Prior to that, I'd worked at the bookshop in Grasmere, and we'd hosted some events in the village that were fairly small scale. They ranged up to the village hall that I think can hold about 100 people safely. But we've done pop-up bookstalls at various events around the county, and we're always interested in what could happen, what's possible to put on. And being in a bookshop, the great thing is that publishers often approach you with authors who are on tour or who have a new book out that really relates to people in your area and would love to collaborate with you. And we were lucky enough that Jonathan Cape approached us in April, asking us whether we'd like to facilitate an event with Rory Stewart. From their side of the deal, they could make sure that Rory could arrive wherever we would like him to be. But that was the pretty much free rein we were given over what we'd plan and how we'd do that. We were told that we might be able to get someone interesting to host a conversation with Rory, and it was someone who was more than interesting and more than relevant to many of our customers, in that it was James Rebanks, shepherd, academic, writer, fascinating guy in his own right. So we knew we had a draw with those two speakers. The publisher were then keen in organising things to try and push for the biggest kind of venue that we could find. The biggest venue that we could access, really, at the time frame we were looking at, ended up being Westmoreland Hall, which is a part of Kendal Leisure Centre.
You discounted Brunton Park, presumably, Will.
We were thinking about it, but I just don't know how a literary event goes down in the centre of a football pitch, although I did think a lot about that one. I like the idea. So yeah, we hired the hall, and I say that, but it was quite an undertaking saying we hired the hall. Trying to book a hall in Cumbria and also organise all the schematics for it is fairly complicated. I mean, we learned that Westmoreland Hall at the Leisure Centre is organised and does host many events like this, but they're a fairly small team, really, and Better, who own the Leisure Centre and run it, operate from London with a Northern Irish call centre. So attempting to get in touch with people sometimes is a slight kind of prohibition in organising, but nevertheless we did. Then as a small bookshop, it was quite challenging, I think, to understand the economics of this. So we were very lucky in that Rory's kind of travel and attendance was all being covered by the publisher, but we had to make sure that the venue we hired, if it was very large, still with a very, very large hire fee, could kind of pay off with whatever ticket prices we set up. So essentially, we thought it'd be good, given our experience last autumn at the same venue where James Rebanks did a talk with Helen Rebanks on the Place of Tides that was organised by a group called Fane, who organised kind of touring events. The ticketing for that was quite expensive, really. Our feedback from audience members where we were doing the pop-up bookstore was we thought we'd already paid for a book because our ticket was, we thought, included it at this point. So sort of the 30-40 pound mark for a ticket at an event, and we thought that was really too dear for what we'd like, and to encourage the kind of accessibility to an event. Like, you want to make sure people can get to it, but we just needed to cover our costs. So we priced our tickets at £10, which we thought was very reasonable. And indeed, many people came into the bookshop in the run up to the event after we had announced it, kind of whispering, we're going because it's very reasonable. So we thought, right, that's going to buy us some credit. Essentially, however we go about orchestrating this show, the fact that people haven't spent through the roof for it means that maybe they'll be in a better disposition when they enter the venue. And I think that did balance out too. You can see on these images how many people we ended up. We did fill the venue, so we got 800 people, which was great, because if we hadn't filled it, there was a line I was looking at as the ticket sold, thinking that's where our costs are covered at this point. And as a small business, we are myself and Polly and 3 employees. We're a very small outfit. We'd also accidentally booked this event because of Rory's timetabling during our most busy week of the year, which is the half term in Cumbria, and with half-term visitors too. Literally, we did our 2 busiest days in the shop back to back the same day as this event was happening in Kendal in the evening. There's the logistics too of just kind of what you want on the stage, and we managed to, I think, just with a big screen and an image we constructed, make it look interesting, theatrical. But the main credit just goes over to James and Rory for doing a brilliant talk. Everyone would love to hear them most of the time, and that was borne out, I think, by how many people really clamoured for tickets towards the end too, when there wasn't any space left, essentially. We were helped immensely, it has to be said, by the 2 newspapers who got behind us. So the Cumberland and Westmoreland Herald ran a competition for tickets, because the pieces in Rory's book were originally in the Cumberland and Westmoreland Herald, and they've been gathered together there. So they had some skin in the game in that sense. But the Westmoreland Gazette simply covered it because it was happening in Kendal. And with both newspapers covering the event a couple of weeks apart in the run-up, we saw a big boost in ticketing sales each time they talked about it. What was brilliant, I suppose, was that the Gazette piece in its printed form didn't actually mention how you got a ticket. So we had some brilliant answer phone messages to wade through, which were kind of like mini dramatic monologues from people in the area we'd not met, who described themselves as big Rory Stewart fans before saying, oh, I shouldn't say fan. That makes me sound so kind of girlish. No, I mean, I admire him. So we had some excellent just listening in that and feedback. And I think the benefit of all of this was that we got in touch with local customers and visitors from up and down the country who all plotted ahead to be there. So we saw brilliant faces. It was a bit like a wedding when you've got 800 people in a room who know your bookshop and want to see these people, that you see so many great people from the county and beyond come. I think we'll hopefully feel the benefit of that going on, that we're building some kind of network of people who all got to be together. The challenge for us, I suppose, going forward is that this was a brilliant event. It all worked, timetabled brilliantly, despite the fact that I realised that half the books we wanted for the bookstall hadn't arrived during the process of selling them on the night, which was the biggest heart attack I think I felt of the evening. The challenge is sort of what is next, what's possible. Like, we really struggled to work out a venue that was going to be suitable for this one. And not every approach from a publisher is going to be a name who you want to book this size of venue for, right? To start with, they were very cloak and dagger. They wouldn't tell me it was Rory. They just said, we've got a big name. And your mind kind of plays over thinking, who could it be? There's lots of people who draw big crowds you wouldn't necessarily want to be associated with. So you're trying to work out who it is you want to host and be a part of and kind of network with and advertise, because your name is on that banner too. So we're kind of interested in seeing what else might be possible, but I think it's it's a real difficulty that you are, as a small creative outfit, kind of asked to do many different jobs when you're organizing, which is very different to regular bookshop work where you pop up with a bookstall like a market trader. If you're organizing, as I'm sure we've heard from Borderlines, there's a lot of moving parts to these things that even for one event end up being lots of questions that you probably haven't answered all on the evening. So yeah, there's some good questions coming, but I think it's great just to highlight the fact that the amount of great Cumbrian bookshops we have now running, that they all are in a position where publishers would want to work with them and help creative cultural activity go on in the county. And it would be brilliant to work out where bookshops can kind of fit in our cultural network, what they can do, who they can work with. Other people who I'm aware have much more experience than we have in doing these sorts of things. We've been to lots of literary events. Myself and my partner have worked at I've worked at the Hay Festival. My partner had kind of been as an author to the Edinburgh Festival. We've seen festivals work up close and behind the scenes, but yeah, we're willing to see that, that there has to be more scope for collaboration, I guess, across the county at thinking, what else can we make happen, given that we've got all these great place-making bookshops that are now active on our high streets.
Yeah, it's very interesting how Hay has developed into much more than just a book festival these days, isn't it? I mean, the BBC, when I was working at the BBC, we did quite a lot of stuff there. And the bit that I was working on, we took the listening project there, which was just recording of interviews with people, and nothing to do with books really, but it fitted in really nicely. It's a very interesting sort of challenge you throw out there, Will, about how we can perhaps be more creative in making things beyond just a book festival. Can I ask, I mean, how many units, as they say, how many books of his did you sell at the event?
I should say it's a closely guarded secret. It's not. So we had 800 people in the room, and we sold, I think, 140 copies of Middleland, and then so we were very happy with that. And we'd planned for around that. Well, planned for a bit more because you never know, and also getting Rory to sign the books while he was there, and then we've got stock for the shop helps us afterwards too. So we didn't mind if we overshot stocking. But when people haven't pre-bought a book, it's a really scary thing to think, how much will I have over-ordered for this room or under-ordered? Either way is bad.
Yeah, and user-friendly authors.
Sorry, they were friendly authors.
User-friendly authors.
Oh, they very were. Yeah, absolutely. And again, the danger is that you're putting upon their time. Like, everyone wants to talk to them. They're so friendly and approachable, but you have to know that they're on for the evening, right? That's their work, and they have to have their space away from it. So trying to make sure that they were comfortable with the amount of user-friendly work they were doing was a nice balance. But they seemed to do really well with that, and they both were happy with the timing of everything. So that was important. It didn't drag on. It didn't put upon them. They weren't kind of being harangued by someone either. We did have a bit of fangirling, as we say, but I think it was all very restrained, really, and everyone took it in good spirits. Yeah.
And was James Rebanks any good as a sort of, interviewer, questioner? Because that's not probably what he's used to, is it?
No, he was brilliant at it. I know that it was taking him slightly out of his comfort zone, but it felt like an important conversation because James had been his constituent and had a vested kind of standpoint to talk from about farming and about locality that maybe Rory doesn't have public conversations about, right? So there was a bit of gentle needling, and James was very good at that because he could be blunt but also good-natured, and you didn't quite know where you were going to head with the conversation. But I think the crowd knew it might be a bit punchier and turned up for that too. So it was great, yeah.
Interesting, because Lee Schofield said something a bit controversial in his book about Rory, didn't he, when he was politician in his constituency? And
what did he say, Karen?
For fireworks. Basically, when Rory turned up at this big public meeting when Lee was running the RSPB there, Rory made a very different speech to all the vested interest of long-standing farmers in the place compared to what he'd actually said in person to Lee, and it sort of really took the rug under from Lee's feet. And he did put this in the book, didn't he, Will? So it was quite an interesting. We did that for book club a couple of years ago, and it was quite a talking point. That sort of bit of intrigue. Yeah, it's good.
Totally. And you don't, I did think, this could turn, because it's not just an author, it's a politician, it's a political speaker, that you do think, is this going to turn into question time? But actually there was
You do. And one of our authors next week, Mike Craven, he's posted something to do with speaking with Abby. I mean, I think they're all great friends and stuff, but he's put, we've both put each other's names in our books as characters. And he was a professor, a really intelligent professor in my book. And in his book, I'm a buffoon. We will be talking about this at Borderlines.
And great. I mean, Will, you've got many strings to your bow. You review things for the bookseller, you review on Radio Cumbria, you write a column, I think, for Cumbria Life as well. Great that you know, Sam Reed Booksellers is a beautiful shop, but it's not a chain of multinational global bookshops, is it? It's a shop in Grasmere. How wonderful that, you know, that they approached you.
Yeah, completely. I think it was great that they knew that we could do this and to deliver it. And I think we gained credit by doing that, right? And I always think that the smaller, even small, very, very small, when you think about our shop, we have no storage space. We're very, very compressed in the centre of a village in Cumbria, that we can always kind of punch above our weight, particularly in our kind of aspiration. And I think we've all been to events where you feel like there isn't a huge team behind it and it could have been more polished, or it could have done something slightly more to reach out to the crowd, or at least, you know, the portion of the nice part of the event that we managed to do was a Q&A as well, because we know audiences want to be a part of that. They don't just want James, they do want to follow up themselves. And whilst it's also sort of like a scary thing to open the public up to that point, we know that people will feel more benefit and more investment if they get the chance to do that. So question and answers at any of the events we've run have always felt like a must if we can, because they just give more value and make it more special, because you don't know what you're going to get. It's spontaneous, right? So
yeah. Thank you, Will. I think just on, you know, on behalf of the county, it's great that a big successful event has taken place in Cumbria, and you'd like to think the publishers who probably normally would target big cities and, you know, big populations, you know, Cumbria can do it with the best of them. And I'd love to think that you know, there might be other big events that come our way to the county as well, based on the success of this one, and obviously the success of Borderlines and Words by the Water, and a new book festival that's taking place down in Carlisle next year as well. So let's hope that that's you know, many more to come. I think if we can do it all together, as you say, Will, or alluded to, we get a bigger bang for our buck.
I think when we do events like this too, if we're alongside an editor or a publicist or a big publisher, we know that networking is important in London. But if we signal that it's very easy and doable regularly to get to the county and to deliver these events swiftly and neatly, then they will see it's more appealing for them and put us forward in the future. So the more work we can do to kind of flag Cumbria on the map as a stopping point in these tours, I think the better. Yeah,
great, lovely stuff. Well done, Will and Polly. And I wasn't at the event, but it looks like from the photographs, which I think Polly's brother took. Is that right?
Yes, so Polly's brother CACN Media took them, and I should say we are posting the event on our YouTube as well. We recorded it, and it's got brilliant audio, and we'll be posting that for people who couldn't make it. So there will be
great stuff. Okay, thanks very much, Will. Good to see you.
Good,
lovely stuff, Chris.
Will, send us a link and we'll put it in chat and people can get to it.
It's not up yet, but I'll let you know when it's up. Yeah.
What we'll do is if you can send it our way, Will, either to Chris or to myself, we'll get it into the newsletter as well, which goes to about 850 people, and we'll access it that way too. Lovely stuff. Thank you very much, Will. Right, well, let's move from Grasmere to Cleator, which is not a place that this call visits that often, but perhaps it should do a bit more, and it probably will do, because Anne Waggett-Knott is the creative consultant working with Cumberland Council to introduce a new project there, and there's an artist call out going on. So Anne, over to you to tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, thanks very much. It's really exciting. I just want to say to Will, that agenda to get arts of any form into new and challenging venues and places is super important in the rural. So it's great to hear about the mechanics of how you did that and a bit of the behind the scenes bricking yourself and that sort of stuff. It's really good. So thanks very much for that. Yeah, for those of you I haven't met before, I'm Anne Waggett-Knott, and I'm an artist based across the border on both sides in Galloway and in Cumbria. And for this particular project, I'm working as a creative consultant for Cumberland Council. And we're initiating a partnership arts project in spring 2026, centred around communities and spaces in Cleator Moor, so firmly in the west of the county. It's the next iteration really of Workington Art Trail that some of you might have seen or been involved in last year. And that was very successful in terms of engaging community groups and working with a team of excellent artists. And we're moving it and changing it somewhat this year. So we're working in Cleator Moor, and we have a call out currently live with a deadline of the 17th of November for artists and makers out in the west of the county. So we're going to be offering several commissions, and we're really keen to hear from artists and makers who are interested in working on the project. Now, the commissions will involve delivering vibrant, accessible arts workshops, co-creating physical or digital artwork with community groups, leading public drop-in sessions, and towards the end of the project, supporting an exhibition and a launch event. Themes for the project are likely to involve community storytelling, well-being, that's been flagged as a key priority, identity, heritage, and nature. And importantly, the project is currently at the design stage. And the reason this call out might sound slightly vague is that we have an opportunity to scope the workshops and scope the structure of the project around the skills and experience of the commissioned artist. Sorry, can I just stop you there and ask that you show just the image that I sent through rather than scrolling through the website?
Okay.
Thanks very much. Just because from a neurodiversity perspective, I find listening to somebody and scrolling text at the same time a little bit difficult to engage with, and maybe other people do too, I'm not sure. So thanks very much. Yeah, so we want to shape the project around the artists that are out there, the creative community in the local area, around their skills and experience and capacity. So that's why we've left things a little bit open with the commissions just now, as well as shaping things around the wants and needs of the local community. Very importantly, artists will be paid in line with Artists Union guidance, and we will be covering travel and materials for all the creatives involved. And that's thanks to the Southfield Social Impact Fund, who are very generously funding this project through Cumberland Council. So in terms of the timescales, we're commissioning at the moment, November to December. The workshops will happen between January and early March. We'll then be consolidating the co-created work that the community have developed with the artists, and there'll be an exhibition and celebratory event around the Easter holidays. In terms of the artists that we're looking for, we're inviting applicants who live or have a studio base in the west-northwestern postcodes. So from CA7, which is the Wigton area, west and down the coast through CA13 to 15, and then 18 to 28. And I know that sounds very, very specific, but it's basically the sort of the north coast and the west coast down to the Ravenglass area. And we're looking for makers and artists with recent experience of delivering creative workshops to varied groups and ages, experience of collaborative or partnership working with other artists and organisations, and people with a really vibrant, high quality, well-developed creative practice, something really engaging. Importantly, we recognise that creatives come via a range of different pathways, so we're not requiring an arts degree or a qualification. And we're interested to hear from artists at all stages of their practice who feel they have the relevant experience. We really want to know who's out there. We're open to a variety of creative processes, including 2D and 3D visual artists, makers, craftspeople, writing, design, digital and immersive arts, and hybrid and cross-disciplinary practices, people who don't necessarily fit in specific boxes. Give us a shout. We're really interested in that kind of stuff too. So the deadline is the 17th of November. In the spirit of artist-centred commissioning, we really appreciate that long application processes take a lot of unpaid time and labour. So we're inviting brief expressions of interest initially, and this worked really well last time we did it for Workington Arts Trail. There's a short form to fill in, which is details, and then 3 questions, which are each a maximum of 100 words each. We're not asking for like lengthy PDF documents or lots of images or videos or anything at this point. From this application pool, we will then shortlist and we'll work with a shorter list of artists to develop fuller applications, and those artists will be paid a token fee to support them while they do that as well. So we're trying to make the commissioning process as fair as possible. And all of that you can find on the website, which I'll put in the chat in just a second, which Chris did scroll through, thank you very much for showing everybody that. It is really useful for people to see it, I think. Yeah, and any questions can come direct to me, or you can submit them through the website if you want to as well.
Thank you, Anne. And Chris has already put the link into chat. So there it is,
Super.
sitting for those of you that want to have a look at that.
Thank
and
you.
good luck
Lovely.
with that process, Anne.
Yeah, and we importantly, there will be a follow-up phase to this, we hope, after April, where we're potentially working with some really exciting partners on something to progress it to. And I can't say anything about that yet, but it's going to be pretty cool. So
all right, something to look forward to there. Thank you very much, Anne. Nice to see you. Right, we have 20 minutes left on the call, and we are going to meet Iona, and we are going to meet Stuart, and we are going to see some images of some print, and we're going to see a short trailer of a film as well. But first of all, Kate Parry, Director of CACN, tell us a bit about, remind us what's happened and what's changed as far as staffing is concerned.
Well, many of you will have been familiar with Amy Story, who was with us for a very long time and did a wonderful, wonderful job for CACN, but has stepped back for various reasons. And so we needed to replace Amy, sadly. And you might have seen that we went out with a call for creative freelancers to join us, and also for a trainee producer. So we were looking for a producer and a trainee producer. So we had a lot of applicants. We were really impressed by the quality of applicants in particular. And we interviewed a lot of people. We spoke to, if you include our advisory group that we put together at the same time, we spoke to upwards of 40 different people over the last month, which obviously is quite time consuming, but it was a really, really rewarding process. So we got to know a lot of people, and I feel like CACN has benefited from that. Anyway, we are putting the finishing touches to building our little team. But we have employed Iona St. Joseph as our producer, who will sort of look after marketing and administration. And we've also employed Stuart Armstrong, our first trainee producer. The trainee producer is part of the See It to Be It project, which many of you will know about. See It to Be It is our Arts Council Place Partnership project, which is about enabling more young people in Cumbria to build viable creative careers. One of the things that we committed to doing early on was creating a trainee role within CACN. We're actually creating 3 6-month placements, one after another. And the first one is Stuart.
Okay.
Yeah. So
right, thank you, Kate. Right, let's hear from Stuart then. Hello, Stuart. Some of you might remember Stuart was on a call actually, probably about, I don't know, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, about a film that he produced some time ago. And he's been making films ever since. And we're going to see a clip shortly of his most recent film. But hello, Stuart. Tell us a bit about yourself. It's very nice to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And well, thanks to the whole of the CACN team for employing me. Lovely to meet everybody and have the chance to speak this morning. Yeah, I'm Stuart. I am from Lazenby. I went to school in Penrith. And then I moved down to London to study film, where I lived for a few years until a couple of years ago when I moved back up here. And since then, I've been developing my own career as a filmmaker. I'm a writer-director, but I've also been working day jobs in the arts and culture sector in Cumbria. So I worked for a year for Eden Arts in Penrith. And then I moved up to Tully, where I was an assistant there to the project team for 6 months. And now I do sort of various freelance bits. I work with a little bit with Eden Arts still. And obviously I'm working with CACN now, which is very exciting. And I'm excited to, learn from the team and, get an insight into how sort of events are produced and things like that. And also, I think a big part of my role is going to be connecting with the youth advisory group that we've just set up. So is it 6 or 7 young people who will be advising the sort of See It to Be It project? Oh, 9, Kate, thanks. So yeah, I'm excited to sort of be a bridge there and see how we can involve more young voices in the organisation as it goes forward with this new Arts Council funding, etc.
Right. Tell us about your film. and introduce it, and you're going to play the clip in from your end, I think.
Yeah, I can do. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a writer director. I have been working on a film for a couple of years now, which is now finished and out there in the world. It's called Meat Raffle. Meat Raffle, MEAT Raffle. It's about a meat raffle. It's a black comedy set in Carlisle in the late 90s. And it's about a closeted dad who is sort of terrified that he's turning his son gay. So in his sort of twisted mind, he is attempting to rig his local pub's Christmas turkey draw and win this prize turkey to prove to his son that he's a real man. We shot it in March this year in Carlisle with some funding from the British Film Institute's Short Film Fund, which was about £21,000, which was a massive opportunity for me as a director. I've never worked with such a big budget before. And we also did a Kickstarter, so we raised an extra 9 grand as well. So it was about 30 grand budget. Since then, the film has done really well at film festivals. We premiered at Bolton Film Festival, which is a big international short film festival. We then went to Iris Prize in Wales, which is a big queer film festival, and we were nominated for Best British Short Film there, which was sponsored by Film 4. So off the back of that, we are now streaming on Channel 4. So you can watch the film on Channel 4. You can search for it on your TV or online, and it's 15 minutes. So that's going to be a big boon to my career, being able to send people there to watch that. And now I'm also working on my debut feature film, which is the next thing that I'm sort of putting my energy into, which is going to be set in Cumbria as well. And that's a sort of queer thriller about rural hookup culture, and the very strange world of like queer dating in and around the Lake District, which I know all too well. I'll show you the trailer now, which is a work in progress trailer for my film Meat Raffle, which I hope you enjoy. This should work.
This is nice though, isn't it, eh? Me and your granddad used to slip out like this every Christmas Eve.
Dad, I need to talk to you about who I really am or whatever.
Back in just a minute, son. I was actually gonna ask you something. How do you reckon you could do us a solid?
You're a minger, you, Rich. That lad of yours, he's looking well.
I need to start setting an example for him. Come on, I got this. And seeing as though you're doing the draw, I thought maybe you could, bit of sleight of hand.
Oh, for fuck's sake, you sad bastard.
We have a very special guest for the draw.
Jesus Christ.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
For Christmas Day.
It's a fantastic 15-minute film. I really recommend it to you. Those kids, the expression on that little boy's face, I don't know how you got that, Stuart.
They were brilliant. They were actually the kids of one of my colleagues from Eden Arts. So she and her husband came to be actors in the film and brought the kids along, and they were just priceless.
And it was shot inside a pub in Carlisle, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. We shot in the Sportsman pub on Heads Lane in Carlisle, which is obviously for those who know it, it's a ancient building. It goes back hundreds of years, and it's probably the oldest pub in Carlisle. And Mandy, who runs it, was an absolute gem and let us take over her pub for the weekend.
Fantastic. And so before we get to Iona, Stuart, tell us a bit more about CACN. What's your motivation in wanting to sort of work for a networking organization as opposed to just pursuing, your creative dream yourself?
Yeah, I've always a big passion of mine has always been trying to make stuff happen in Cumbria, and meet more people who are doing interesting things in the area. And I was a sort of, I guess, service user of CACN a few years ago when I used the network to promote my film that I was making at the time. So to be a part of, you know, the work that it's doing, connecting people around the county is really exciting.
Yeah, great. Well, I think we're really lucky to have such a professional filmmaker in our midst. You know, I think the films that CACN makes, I'm trying to think of, have we made any film? I'm not sure we have, but with the films that we will make will be exceptional now with Stuart's input. And I just love the tone of that film that you made as well. It's very funny, as someone said, and lots of comments in chat that you need to see, Stuart, about people saying it looks great. Thank you ever so much, and it's great to have you on board. It really is.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I hope everyone enjoyed the film if you get a chance to watch it as well.
Absolutely. And Stuart will be stuart@cacn.co.uk. We're all now first names at cacn.co.uk. We've had a bit of an electronic IT makeover. Right. Thank you, Stuart. Let's speak to Iona now. Iona St. Joseph, who's sitting there just outside Kendal. Stuart's in Carlisle. Hello, Iona. Tell us a bit about yourself, and then we're going to see some of your work as well. But tell us a bit about yourself, first of all, and perhaps why you wanted to join CACN.
Yeah. So my name's Iona. My background's in journalism and sort of PR/marketing. So I did a journalism degree, and then went on to work at a public relations agency, and also sort of marketing, and then in website project management. So hearing Will actually talk about organising large events gave me sort of slight PTSD thinking back to things we've had to do. So I worked in an agency in Gloucestershire where I went to uni, and then I actually moved back up to Dumfries and Galloway where I'm from in 2014. So got quite a sort of, I like to describe myself as a jack of all trades. So I grew up on a farm, and my dad was having a hip replacement then. So I moved back up to the farm to do sort of freelance PR marketing stuff, and then also help manage some sheep. So did that for a bit, kept my eye in terms of the PR side of things. And then when COVID struck, I sort of felt like I had to actually get a full-time job because the freelance stuff was not delivering. So I ended up getting a full-time role as a project manager with a web development company that I'd been working with in Lockerbie. So I did that for a couple of years, and really enjoyed the kind of project management side of things. And then ended up getting a job with the Crichton Trust in Dumfries, which is a trust that manages an estate and kind of puts on events and runs the estate there. And then at the beginning of last year, my husband got a new job down here, which is how I have ended up in Cumbria. So that's kind of a whistle-stop tour of my life. And then in terms of CACN, I think the thing that really stands out for me, having lived in Dumfries and Galloway and having kind of grown up there, I know what it's like to be someone growing up in a rural place where there's not a whole lot of opportunities and you really have to rely on, you know, your parents driving you places, or if you actually want to kind of do something, you have to leave. So I think it's really admirable that everyone's kind of working together to provide opportunities and just to showcase what's out there, because actually is definitely something that I feel like I would have benefited from growing up. So to be able to kind of contribute to that from the other side was really important to me. So that's kind of where my interest kind of came along. And as I think Kate said, I'll be kind of working on as a producer, so doing some of the marketing and sort of admin side of things. But yeah.
You are a creative as well, Iona, are you not?
Well, Tom, I mean, I feel like I'm catfishing everyone by sort of you referring to me as
I don't even understand what that means.
A printmaker. Okay, lying on the internet, basically. But yes, so I do riso printing, and I have a.
What is riso printing?
Well, funny you should ask. I have this fantastic PowerPoint presentation that I put together about riso printing. So I had a great time putting this together. I felt like I was at school doing a presentation about bugs or something. So here's a little guide to riso printing by me. Chris, if you could hit the next slide, that would be great. So riso printing, this is the riso print. If you could see me, I'm pointing to the thing that looks like a photocopier. I don't know how it works, basically. I don't have the sort of mechanical attention span to give you in a lot of detail. But basically, each color is a big drum, and you load the drum into the machine, and then you scan your print, and it makes a kind of stencil, and then the machine prints the color that you've put in. And what's really cool about it is you can kind of layer all the colors on top of each other. I think it's Japanese in origin. That's pretty much all the info I can give you. If you Google it, there's some better descriptions. But that's Riso Printing. This is the studio I go to in Morecambe, which is the Morecambe Community Riso Press, which is kind of community funded. So they've sort of set up after seeing how Riso Printing works, and then you can kind of do workshops to learn how to use it and become a member, and then you can kind of go and do your own prints and things down there. Next slide, please, Chris. Oh yeah, so as I said, in Morecambe at the Riso Press, they do loads of introductory workshops, so you can kind of go along, and they're really small. I think it's about 4 people, and they kind of show you how to make the prints. I've put the link in there. I'll sling it in the chat as well in case anyone else is interested. Why I love doing it, I like it because it's bright colours, mainly, and also the way that Riso Printing works, it's kind of always a bit unsure whether things are gonna line up, and whether it's gonna, nothing ever really comes out perfectly. And I kind of, as a recovering perfectionist, I enjoy kind of seeing how it comes out of the machine, and how the designs that you have in your head, how they end up looking, especially printed with the different layers of colouring. That image there gives you an idea of kind of how some of the colours look when they're like layered on top of each other. Next slide, please. I can't remember what I've said next. Oh yeah, it's also really good, or it's used a lot for zine printing. So this was a zine that they put together called the Cuisine Zine, and it was all about different food experiences. And I made this page about how much I hate mashed potatoes and other soft foods, which I think is as a result of school dinners. So that's that, but that's a good example of how you can make a collage and then kind of print it with all the different layers and colors and how it might turn out. So yeah, next please. Oh, this is what I'm currently working on. I had an idea that I think like luchador wrestling masks would look really cool coming out of a Riso printer, because you could do all the different colors and the layers. So I'm going back down next week to hopefully finish these off. But those are how I've created those designs. Is I found some kind of images of them online, and then I've drawn around them, and what I'm going to do is color in different parts of it and then print all those different layers and different colors. So I'll report back on how that goes maybe next week, next Friday. Give you an update. Yeah, and then next please, Chris. Oh yeah, this is my in detail summary, which is, if you're interested, go along to one of the sessions and give it a go. It's quite fun. Any more questions, just let me know. I think the next slide I've got some pictures of so these are just some of the examples of the printing. None of these are mine, as you can probably tell, of all the examples of the different kind of ways that people use the printer. So they have like a little zine library. And then you can kind of see in the one on the right hand side, you can use photographs and stuff. It doesn't all have to be drawings or designs or collage. It's just a really cool way, I think, to add your own kind of creativity and detail to things that you're interested in. And that's a wrap.
That's fantastic, Iona.
Oh, thanks.
I'd never heard of Riso printing before.
Oh,
I see that Anne said there's a Riso studio run by the Stove Network in Dumfries.
Yes.
It's interesting to hear about. Look out for wild and colourful graphics from CACN going forwards, it would seem to me, as well as incredible filmmaking with a black humour touch to it. That's great. Thank you, Iona.
I was also just going to say about books and reading that I write a little Substack where I talk about what I read each month, and also other stuff, and not to get anyone too excited, but I think this month I'm going to go into some depth about my new rice cooker. So if that doesn't whet your appetite, I don't know what will.
Substack's gonna crash under the weight of people rushing to that.
I'll put the link in the chat, and I'm also about to read a book called Bog People, which Will recommended to me, that I bought for my husband, and he said was really good and that I should read it. So it's an anthology of like folk horror tales from working class writers. So check that out if you're into that sort of thing.
Okay, on that bombshell,
Just
it's 10:30. Chris.
Question time. This should be
yeah, just pop in your age there, everybody, if you can. And then I shall
scroll
wrap up
down,
the call.
and your gender identity will be handy as well.
Yeah, just pop that in. We're doing this so that in a couple of years' time, when See It to Be It has changed the world, we can have a baseline from 2025 autumn to see what the age and other details were of people on this call, and we'll see if we can shift the dial a little bit as one small indicator of hopefully where See It to Be It has taken us. Ione has put her Substack into link as well. Kate.
Can I just point people's attention to the Pivot programme? If you run a small cultural organisation or you're a freelance creative practitioner interested in developing your practice, please look on our website and think about applying to the Pivot programme by the 17th of November, funded by both local authorities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, next week we are going to hear from the Carlisle Zine Fest, hopefully, which is relevant to what Ione has just been talking about there with the beautiful designs for the zines. We're also going to hear from a writer called Daisy Fancourt, who's written a book called Art Cure, which is basically exploring why art actually matters in life and in society. So her name is Daisy Fancourt, and she's written a book called Art Cure. So we're going to hear from her as well. Just want to briefly say that thanks to Chris for holding the fort in the background on these calls. Ione is going to take over that role from next week, very excitingly. So Chris has done a magnificent job. Today's been quite a busy one with all sorts of things going on. And as it happens, next week, Chris is actually going to host the call. So the hot seats are changing and Chris is going to be in charge next week. Promotion. I'm elsewhere, but I might actually make an appearance, but that's too complicated to explain. Thank you very much to Karen, to Will, to Anne, to Stuart, to Iona. Bridget, last thing. Bridget, you've got 20 seconds to tell us about what you wanted to say.
All right. Hi, guys. Yeah, just a cheeky little promo for SCAR, which is an exhibition coming up at Florence Art Centre. It's going to open on the 16th of November, which is a Sunday. There has been rumours that there'll be spiced hot cider and mince pies. That was some suggestion of refreshments. So it's 11 till 3. There's definitely some in-gallery workshop action going on that day. And then there's a huge programme of workshops of all the artists that have been involved. So there's 11 artists that have been involved. So yeah, come along if you fancy that.
SCAR at Florence. Thank you very much, Bridget. It's good to see you all. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend and catch you again soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Phil. Thank you, everybody. Stuart, you're rushing off, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I've got to go
That's
in the
fine.
next sort of 20 minutes, yeah.
I just wanted to catch up with